Zoom session. It's my pleasure, your MC for today, Vadi PVSS, to be part of this wonderful session on Little India Goes Green, jointly organized by LISHA Women's Wing, LISHA as in Little India Shopkeepers Heritage and Association, and Indian Restaurant Association of Singapore, IRAS. Now, I always thought Little India was already green, you know, banana leaf, mango leaf, curry leaves. But that's not the green that we are talking about today. It's about reducing food wastage. Now, this topic is very close to my heart and to my stomach since I was the food bank of my house when I was young. My mom would lovingly tell me, Tangong, as in golden boy, can you finish all the leftovers? And mom's love, you know, you cannot disagree. So I gladly finished all of that. So therefore, this is very close to my heart. But on a serious note, food wastage. Now, the amount of food waste generated in Singapore has increased by about 20% over the past 10 years and is expected to increase with our growing population and economic activity. Therefore, there is a need to manage food wastage holistically. Now, our expert guest speakers today will guide you on how to prevent and reduce food wastage at your shops and restaurants, redistribute unsold and or excess food, and recycle and or treat food wastage. Now, the tagline for today is, together we can reduce food wastage in Little India and contribute towards making Singapore a zero waste nation. Now, there are wonderful speakers who have been lined up to actually to give their take on this. For example, Mr. Mahendran, Honorary Secretary, Indian Restaurant Association of Singapore. He'll be giving a speech on how restaurant and shop owners can handle raw and cooked food to reduce food wastage, how IRAS can help guide the restaurants and shops, give a few examples of current practices others can follow, and of course, to motivate, inspire, and encourage all to do their part to reduce food wastage. Now, Ms. Queenie Wong, Executive Engineer, Food Waste Segregation Regulation Branch, Waste Management and Sustainability Division, National Environment Agency, NEA. She will talk on why is food wastage is a problem, what happens when you waste food, the food wastage situation in Singapore and globally, how to prevent and reduce food wastage, how NEA can help business at Little India to manage food wastage. Next will be Mr. Jameson Chow, Operations Manager, the Food Bank Singapore Limited. Now, he will talk about what the food bank does and the activities, how they can help to redistribute unsold and excess food. Thereafter, we have Ms. Jasvinda Khor, Senior Manager, Food from the Heart. Her topic would cover what Food from the Heart does and the activities, how they can help to redistribute unsold and excess food. Now, without further ado, let's start off, kick off this event. And I have, firstly, the most important person, I would say. She is the chairperson of the LISHA Women's Wing. Now, she will actually give a few words. She will actually tell us more about this particular project. Now, before she comes on, I need to tell you about Miss Joyce Kingsley. Joyce Kingsley is a visionary Singapore woman entrepreneur with almost 3 decades of experience in business, who is best known for her immense contribution to uplift the Indian business community, particularly women. She founded LWW, the Women's Wing of LISHA, as well as CIS Premium Private Limited, and creating A-class corporates. This socialite, who has spearheaded several social projects for the community at large, is happily married with 2 daughters, Sylvia and Sandra, aged 24 and 20. Miss Joyce Kingsley, take it away, please.
Thank you, Vadi. Let me just put on my slides first. Hello, everyone. A very good morning again to Senior Minister of State, Dr. Amy Khor, business owners, members and friends. Are you able to hear me well? Okay, all okay? Okay.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
So Little India today is one of Singapore's most vibrant districts. Little India is commonly known as Tekka in the Indian Singapore community. There are many restaurants and grocery shops in Little India spread out every part of it. Locals and tourists love to throng the streets and malls of Little India for authentic Indian food. So LISHA, what is LISHA about? LISHA, as in Little India Shopkeepers and Heritage Association, takes charge of the precinct, heritage, and the year-round festivals like month-long events for Pongal, Deepavali, Indian New Year, and so forth. LISHA Women's Wing is a subcommittee of the main LISHA launched in 2012, conducting many types of events, networkings and awareness programs, empowering women and providing motivation and guidance. We do about 20 events a year and have slowly moved to opening up our events to both men and women. So let's go green. Finally, the event is happening today. We are This event was actually supposed to take place the last year itself, as I mentioned earlier. So, due to the COVID and circuit breaker restrictions, we could not conduct it last year. And this year we decided we are going ahead with it, even if it means via Zoom. So now LISHA alone, we can only do a certain much. But when we hold hands with many organizations, we can certainly do lots. LISHA Women's Wing is very happy to collaborate with Indian Restaurant Association in this Little India Goes Green event. Special thanks to Mr. Mahindran of IRAS for all the coordinations and assistance. We are very, very honored to have Senior Minister of State, Dr. Amy Khor, to be our guest of honor for this event. Thank you so much, ma'am, for the kind support and making time to grace this occasion. We want to be the change makers. We want to ignite, lead, and advocate for sustainable change. And we want Little India to be an example. So many children in countries like Madagascar, Liberia, Somalia are suffering without food to eat. And here we are wasting food. Although in Singapore, the hunger situation is not such, we still have many needy families whom we could take care of. And we are 10 years away from the UN goal of zero hunger by 2030. No matter how carefully shop holders plan their inventory, at times unexpected slowdown happens in business, causing certain edibles to near expiry dates. Sometimes demand and supply pattern changes, buying styles changes, preferences and choices changes as well. Therefore, it is certain that all merchants go through this food wastage management some point of time. LISHA is aware of the struggles of merchants and restaurants. We are trying to find ways in which merchants could work towards clearing products that near expiry. LISHA, as well as IRAS, hope that this Little India Goes Green event will be an eye-opener and an avenue provider to not only reduce wastage, but efforts to work towards zero wastage. At this point of time, I would like to thank Nirmala and Maha Jabin, my executive committee ladies who are the organizing chairs of this event today. They have put in tremendous efforts to make this event happen. Thank you, Nimmi and Maha. Among the many events that we have lined up this year, Little India Goes Green is our very first event, and it's finally happening today. And these are briefly our other events for 2021, as in LISHA Women's Wings events. So whether they are going to happen virtually or physically or cancel, it's all depends on COVID-19 situation. So Pongal celebrations was last year done at main LISHA. Today, February 27, Little India Goes Green. Next month, March, we are having our International Women's Day. April, we are having our Tamil Language Festival event. May 15th, we are having a wannabe influencer awareness program. June, we have happiness and midlife for ladies. July, we have shine and save with gold. August, we have our annual business forum. September, we have a biryani fiesta. We did curry fiesta 2 years ago and was a very successful event. And this year we want to do biryani fiesta. And we have our Diwali fashion runway. We also have a karaoke competition. And in October, we have our World Animal Day and something to do with breast cancer event parade for a cause. And we also have part two of the karaoke competition, and we have a Deepavali debate special events for Deepavali. November, we have our Lisha Gala dinner and reason for the season in December, which is actually our Christmas event. So we have lots of things planned, and we hope more of you ladies and gentlemen will join us in our events. And we would like to thank our lovely MC and moderator today, Mr. Vadi, for accepting our invitation. Thank you so much, Mr. Vadi. And Vadi Valakan, or Vadi PVSS as he is affectionately known, is an award-winning bilingual writer, director, and performer on stage, radio, and TV. Buddy, who's currently pursuing a career in law, was previously sponsored by National Arts Council to pursue a master's in creative industries in Australia. Buddy holds also a juris law. We are truly honored to have him with us today. Thank you so much, Mr. Buddy, once again. Lisha Women's Wing, thank you to my committee as well as my main chairman of Lisha, Mr. Shankar, and also my main Lisha Executive Committee members for making this event possible today. Your feedback is important to us. It helps us in many ways. So at the end of this event, there will be an online feedback form. Please complete it and send it back in order for you to collect your lovely, attractive decal to put outside your shop. Since we have many merchants with us online today, let me also say a few words on Lisha membership. For those of you who would like to take up membership to attend our events, we can also attend as non-members, but membership is just $100 for one whole year at the moment. It is just a community service, and you may contact 9811-5817 should you be interested to take up a membership. So ladies and gentlemen, let's reduce wastage. Let Little India go green. May our efforts today go a long way to attain zero wastage. My sincere thanks to Dr. Emiko once again, and to all of you here who have taken interest in the topic and made yourself available. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Joyce Kingsley. Wonderful introduction. And I must say, the calendar of events, one particular event stands out for me, that biryani fiesta. I've already noted down the date. Now, it's my pleasure now to call upon guest of honor, Dr. Amy Khor, to say a few words. Now, Dr. Amy Khor does not need an introduction, but as the MC, I have to introduce you, ma'am. Dr. Amy Khor, Senior Minister of State, Ministry of Sustainability and Environment. Dr. Amy Khor has been the Senior Minister of State at the Ministry of Sustainability and the Environment since October 2015, when the ministry was known as the Ministry of the Environment and Water Resources. She was appointed as the Senior Minister of State for Transport in July 2020. Prior to her current appointments, Dr. Khor was Senior Minister of State for Health from September 2013 to July 2020. She was also the Senior Minister of State for Manpower from September 2013 to September 2015. Her previous appointments in the Singapore government include Senior Parliamentary Secretary for the Ministry of the Environment and Water Resources from May 2006 to October 2010, Minister of State for the Environment and Water Resources from November 2010 to May 2011, Minister of State for Health from May 2011 to August 2013, and Minister of State for Manpower from August 2012 to August 2013. Dr. Khor was also the Mayor of Southwest District in Singapore from August 2004 to May 2014. Dr. Khor was first elected as a Member of Parliament in November 2001. She was re-elected for a fifth term in July 2020 and is a Member of Parliament for Hong Kong North. She holds a PhD in Land Management from the University of Reading, UK. Dr. Amy Khor.
Thank you
The
very much.
session is yours.
Thank you. Thank you for the kind words. Ms. Joyce Kingsley, founder and chairperson, Little India, Shopkeepers and Heritage Association Women's Wing. Mr. S. Mahentiran, Honorary Secretary, Indian Restaurant Association, Singapore. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, very good morning to one and all. I'm indeed glad that we are finally able to meet after this event was postponed last year due to the COVID-19 situation. Let me begin by thanking the Little India Shopkeeper and Heritage Association, or LISHA Women's Wing, and Indian Restaurant Association Singapore, IRAS, for raising awareness on sustainability in Little India and kick-starting efforts to reduce food waste. According to the United Nations Food and Agricultural Organization, 1/3 of the food produced in the world for human consumption is wasted globally every year, amounting to 1.3 billion tons. That is enough to feed 2 billion people for a year. The problem with food waste is not just about unequal distribution and accessibility of food, but also its environmental impact. Energy, water, and land are used for the production, packaging, and transport of food. Food wastage means resources that were used to produce the food were invested in vain as well. Wastage depletes our Earth's precious resources, which could have been better used to produce other goods. The process of producing and transporting food also contributes to greenhouse gas emissions. In fact, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change estimates that 8 to 10% of greenhouse gases emissions, which contribute to climate change, are caused by food waste itself. Climate change is an existential threat to Singapore. I think we all know. As a low-lying island state, Singapore is especially vulnerable to sea level rise. Climate change can drive more extreme weather patterns, such as intense rainfall and heat waves, which are, already been observed. Climate change can also impact our access to essential resources, such as food and water. For example, poor crop harvests arising from extreme weather conditions can disrupt our food supply. And I think we have seen that happening in recent times, shortage of vegetables in some instances and all that. To address the impacts of climate change, the government has over the years implemented a comprehensive suite of climate adaptation and mitigation measures. But we can and must do more. So earlier this month, we launched the Singapore Green Plan 2030. This is a whole of nation effort to advance Singapore's national agenda on sustainable development. Spearheaded by 5 ministries and supported by the whole of government, the Green Plan sets out ambitious and concrete targets over the next 10 years, strengthening Singapore's commitment to achieve net zero emissions as soon as viable. The Green Plan comprises 5 pillars, namely city in nature, sustainable living, energy reset, green economy, and resilient future. It will influence all aspects of our lives as we work together to make Singapore a greener and more livable home. We also want to engage and empower the public, private, and people sectors, that's the 3P sectors, to co-create solutions for sustainability and realize the Green Plan together. Under the sustainable living pillar, we aim to make it a way of life in Singapore to reduce our carbon footprint, keep our environment clean, and conserve resources. Under our Zero Waste Master Plan, we are working to reduce the waste sent to our landfill by 30% by 2030. We will build on and front-load our efforts over the next 5 years to achieve a 20% reduction by 2026. Businesses like those in LISHA have a critical role to play in this journey towards zero waste. So indeed, I'm very grateful that LISHA, the Women's Wing, have actually organized this particular event. Let me share 3 broad areas where businesses can contribute to tackling food waste through partnerships, technology, and tapping on new business opportunities. Firstly, forming partnerships and working as a community is a great way to reduce food waste while helping those in need. In Tampines and a few other neighborhoods, residents have set up community fridges where anyone with excess food, but they are edible groceries, they can stock up the fridge for those in need. Establishing soup kitchens is another way to give food a new lease of life and contribute to society. So indeed, I'm happy to see Food Bank and Food for the Heart here at today's sharing session. They do good work in collecting food donations and passing them on to people who are in need. Secondly, it is important to leverage technology for novel and efficient solutions in reducing food waste. For example, a food waste tracker developed by the startup company Lumitix uses artificial intelligence to identify the quantity and the category of food that is thrown away in restaurants. This helps businesses track their food waste and plan more accurately when ordering their ingredients. The use of technology to treat food waste, such as food waste digesters, is another way to reduce waste. From 2024, all owners and occupiers of commercial and industrial premises that generate large amounts of food waste will be required to segregate their food waste for treatment, either on-site or off-site. So this includes, for instance, the companies that manufacture food, or restaurants, for instance, or hotels. This requirement will ensure that food waste from large food waste generators is segregated and diverted for treatment or converted into useful products, for instance, animal feed, compost, or fertilizer. Now, third, or finally, new business opportunities can arise from combating food waste itself. A social enterprise called Ugly Food sells fresh produce which do not look pretty but are still edible. It even created its own recipe for fruit juices and cleaning agents made from these items. By sourcing from supermarkets and importers, Ugly Food taps on the food waste industry and built a business around it. At the same time, they salvage food that would otherwise have been thrown away. With more than 80 food-related establishments in Little India today, the potential for businesses to reduce food waste is indeed immense. I understand that some shops are already working with SG Food Rescue to salvage excess food that are used to stock up community fridges. To prevent wastage, many stores also sell products at a discounted price or give them away for free when the food is close to the expiry dates. These are commendable efforts, and I hope more will be inspired to do the same. I would like to emphasize that the best way to reduce food waste is actually to avoid wasting food at the onset. The National Agency and the Singapore Food Agency have worked with various industry stakeholders to publish food minimization guidebooks for food retail establishments, supermarkets, and food manufacturing establishments to reduce food waste across the supply chain. So I want to encourage all of you to make good use of these resources and take the first step towards food waste reduction to achieve win-win outcomes for businesses, society, and the environment. Let me conclude. The COVID-19 pandemic has changed our lives and compelled us to adapt to a new normal. This represents an opportunity to rethink our relationship with our environment, recalibrate how we can do things better, and build back stronger. By working together, we can fight food waste and climate change and transform Singapore into a city of green possibilities. So indeed, thank you very much for inviting me to this event and the opportunity to share with all of you. And I look forward to more collaborations with LISHA and IRAS on our journey towards zero waste. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Amy Khor. I think Dr. Amy Khor succinctly linked climate change to food wastage a warning that we all have to take heed, and hence this timely session jointly organized by LISHA Women's Wing and IRAS. There was one particular key takeaway point that Dr. Amy Khor pointed out: 3 ways companies especially can come together on reducing food wastage: partnership, technology, and tapping on new business opportunities. We will further discuss this today. And without further ado, I would like to now call upon Mr. S. Mahendran to give his take on reducing food wastage. Now, a little introduction. Mr. S. Mahendran is Honorary Secretary of Indian Restaurant Association of Singapore, IRAS, and Chief Operations Officer, Catering Solutions Private Limited. Mahendran discovered his passion for the F&B industry at the tender age of 14. To further his interest and knowledge in this area, he pursued a BBA in International Hotel Management with Finance Honors in Switzerland. Since his return to Singapore, he has immediately established Gayatri at OCC and taken up the position of COO at Catering Solutions. Mahendran strongly believes in integrating food and technology and is determined to bring the company to a new level of efficiency through best-in-class food technology and automation. Mr. Mahendran, please.
Thank you, Vadi. Thank you very much. Good morning to our guest of honor, Dr. Amy Khor. Well, I will dive straight into the presentation. As we all have heard how important it is to go towards zero food waste. I would like to share some experiences that I have gone through running restaurants and food establishments. We can go to the next slide. Can you hear me?
Raji, next slide, please.
Yeah, okay. So what I would like to cover today is I want to share a case study that I've personally handled. And of course, we can split, being restaurateurs, we can split our food into 2 different categories: raw food and cooked food, and how we can salvage or reduce the waste from raw food or cooked food. So this is what I want to discuss today in our presentation. Next, please. So in 2018, we did a study together with NEA at Catering Solutions. And this study is very close to my heart because we did not understand the amount of food waste that was generated on a daily basis. So together with NEA, a food operator and a third-party vendor, we started going to the trash and digging up all this food waste and tried to discover how much waste that could be salvaged, or we call it the voidable and unavoidable food waste. So we took them up from the bins, we segregated them into different boxes to identify how this can be better managed. And this is what we found. So we had a total of 566 kilos of waste per day, and out of which 345 was food waste. Yeah, this is almost 60% of food waste compared to the entire waste that was disposed in these bins. Next, please. So we even broke down this composition to where this came from. So staples, fruits and vegetables, meat, seafood, and we could get a clearer picture of where we were going wrong. And just to create some caution, this was not done intentionally. It was unintentional, but these numbers were shocking to us. And we said there needs to be measures in place for us to control this waste. And that's when we started taking action. We went down to the kitchen. We had to better train our staff, even the simplest thing like cutting a vegetable. So where do you cut the vegetable till? Till the root? Or you want to go a bit higher? Because this is an establishment that does 20,000 meals a day. And you know, if every meal was, you're going to waste a small bit, then this is going to accumulate. And at the end, you end up with these large numbers. So not only training for the staff, but we had to go down and manage temperatures of our chillers, which I will cover later in my presentation as well. Speaking to suppliers to ensure that the quality of vegetables that were being provided insect free. All these things are actually being followed. But if we were to give them a bit more attention, then I think we can play a bigger role in actually saving food. Next, please. So again, some pictures of the food that was collected. I'm so sorry. I know we are approaching lunchtime and you might lose your appetite looking at these pictures, but don't worry. I've got more pictures coming up later, which will make you a little more hungry. Next, please. Okay. So when we say, I broke this down earlier into raw food and cooked food. So how can we pay more attention when it comes to raw food? So we have to plan ahead on what we want to buy. We don't want to buy excessive ingredients. So we only buy ingredients that were required. Although our menu planning was for, we had planned our menu for 1 month. This is what was going to happen for the next 1 month. But we just purchased ingredients, what was needed for the next 3 days. Yeah. So we had to better manage our ingredients that we purchased. And most of the time, as restaurateurs, we are always carried away by suppliers and their deals. They come up to you and say, if you buy bulk, I give you a discount. You get a 10% discount when you buy this whole lot. And the suppliers are trying to clear their stock. But we get greedy because of this enticing pricings. And sometimes we get carried away by buying all this bulk stocks. So we should avoid this as well. Next, please. A lot of these measures are actually already in our legislations. So when a restaurant actually applies for a license, NEA has, previously known as NEA, now is SFA, Singapore Food Agency. They have already stipulated most of this in their SOPs or the legislation. So your freezer temperatures and your refrigerators, they should be at the correct temperatures because this will actually increase the shelf life of your food. Yeah. So you have to have constant checks on your equipment to ensure that they are stored at the right temperature to reduce the risk of food spoilage. Next, please. Another thing that so for a restaurant to be active and operational, you send your staff. It is mandatory for us to send our staff for food hygiene courses. Yeah, and these are all being taught to us, but we just have to pay more attention to it when it comes to operations. So FIFO is a term where we use first in, first out. So whatever comes in first, use it first, and then the next stock that comes in, stack it behind. So this simple efforts will actually create awareness for your staff to say that this has to be cleared first before you start using the fresher stock. Next, please. So again, temperature. Most of the restaurants, what we do, you might prepare food for the entire week. You would want to blast chill this food. So the proper equipments are necessary to bring down the food to a certain temperature below 5 degrees within 4 hours. So there are a lot of technicalities that needs to be followed. If you do not do this within the time frame, the stipulated time frame, the chances of food turning bad quickly is highly possible. You have to pay attention to this carefully and to know how you have to cool down food if you are planning to store this food for long term. Next, please. To clearly label all your food, to make sure that you have your expiry dates. So once you prepare the food and you say, I've already blast chilled, or I'm going to keep this for the next 1 week because it's going to be in the freezer, it is okay, but make sure you clearly label this food because you may not know when the food is there and you don't have a label indicating the date of expiry or how long it's going to last, and probably end up throwing this away in the bin. Next, please. Yeah, so the same thing. This is how you label your food and do stock rotation on a regular basis. Next. So just like how I explained during the case study, how we had to train our staff to properly to train them to help them understand. We had to show them the pictures of the waste that was collected from the bins to help them understand that this is where we are going wrong. This is how we have to improve. And so constant training is very important, and this has to be done regularly for our staff as well. Next, please. Okay, so we spoke about raw food. How are we going to avoid how are we going to avoid throwing away cooked food? This is a bit more difficult because, as you know, after you cook, you try to sell the food at your counter, you can't sell it. Most of the restaurants would say, I don't think I can serve this food elsewhere because we have to meet the 4-hour regulations, which is a big challenge in our industry. So do you think I'm going to, at the last hour, the 11th hour, half an hour left, and then I'm supposed to send this food to somewhere? That is also not possible. So for me, cooked food, how we manage it is we have to study our daily sales report. You find out your best items that you sell, your best 20 items. I see that many restaurants go for choices and varieties because that is what your customers want. You want a whole lot of varieties. So what happens? You have got so many SKUs to manage, and sometimes this can go to waste. So your daily report is very important. Identifying your top 20 items that's selling is very important, and having your customers, knowing your customers, to find out what are their favorite dishes that you want to sell. And you would often see the chef's hat on the menu. There is a reason why you have that, because restaurants want to sell these items. These are the items that you should be selling. These are your fast moving items. So you have the ingredients for these items. When you have too much variety, it's going to be difficult to control your stocks, your inventory levels, because you've got too many SKUs to manage. Yeah. So narrow down to your 20 items, put up the chef's hat on your menu to say, these are the items that I'm going to sell. And this way you can reduce. These small things that you do will go a long way. Next. So most of the Indian restaurants that we go to, or even Malay cuisines, you would see that the stalls have already prepared their dishes and laid it out on the Ben Mary for sale. Yeah, this is often when a customer walks in, they see the colorful dishes and they get excited on what they want to order. And this is actually being practiced everywhere now in Little India as well. How do we handle this? So from my experience, I've understood that not everything has to be prepared and kept on the Ben Mary. So instead of having a hot warmer cabinet that keeps this food hot, you can also have a chiller next to it, a display chiller, where you marinate your dishes and you leave it inside. And upon order, you then fry these dishes or you cook the dishes for your customers' needs. So in this way, if the food is not cooked, you're still allowed to keep this food in your chiller for the next day, where you can prepare this food for your customers again. And when you do this Ben Mary setup, you have to do batch cooking. Avoid doing large batches. So when the food finishes, try to replenish as and when. Next, please. So there are also portioning issues that we face. Most of the times, banana leaf restaurants, we serve the vegetables and the rice and the gravy at your table itself. And sometimes the waiters may not know what the customers want and probably just overserve the customers. And that is why you usually get, sleepy after a very heavy Indian meal. But we have to know your customers. The waiters have to ask, is it sufficient? Do a second round if necessary, but try not to overfeed your customers. Next, please. Thank you. Over to you, Vadi.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mahendran, especially for the tips on how to smartly manage raw and cooked food so as to avoid food wastage. And I would like to actually take note, especially one of your advice. Don't be carried away by deals suppliers offer, such as bulk order discounts. I'm actually a sucker for that. My wife always screams there are only 4 persons and 1 pet dog, not 40 persons, So from today onwards, I'm going to include that advice in my shopping list. All right, thank you, Mr. Mento, one more time. Now we are going to go on to Miss Queenie Wong. Now, Miss Queenie Wong is an executive engineer in the Food Waste Segregation Regulation Branch under the Waste Management Division of the National Environment Agency. Since joining the NEA, she has been involved in helping to develop and implement policies on food waste management, particularly in the area of food waste minimization and recycling. Ms. Queenie Wong, Executive Engineer, Food Waste Segregation Regulation Branch, Waste Management and Sustainability Division, National Environment Agency. Take it away, Ms. Queenie Wong.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Let me just toggle to share my slides. Yeah, hi, a very good morning or close to afternoon to everyone. Yeah, so before I begin, I would like to thank LISHA and also IRAS for inviting NEA to be part of today's session. It's an honor to be invited to share on how food retail establishments can actually play a role when it comes to reducing food waste in Singapore's journey towards zero waste. Yeah, so this is actually the outline of my presentation today. First, I'll be giving an overview of the current food waste situation in Singapore, followed by some of the food waste management strategies that food retail establishments like yourself can actually adopt in your business operations. So in 2019, Singapore actually generated 744,000 tons of food waste. This is actually about a 20% increment over the last 10 years. And it makes up about 10% of our total food waste, total waste generation. However, of which only 18% is being recycled. These are mainly the homogeneous food waste, such as spent grains, soy waste, as well as bread waste, which are converted into ingredients for animal feed. The remaining 82% are then sent for incineration together with our other general waste. So actually, you can see that food waste is one of the waste streams with a high volume generation, but a low recycling rate. So you may ask, like, where are all this whole amount of food waste being generated from? So from our past studies, we actually found that households contributed about 50% of the total food waste generation, and commercial and industrial premises like food manufacturers, hotels, shopping malls makes up about the 40%. So why should we actually look at managing our food waste? So firstly, food waste stresses our food security. I think a lot of us are aware that Singapore, we are not a farming country, and more than 90% of our food is actually imported. So in recent years, extreme weather is also affecting crop production in agricultural countries, which will also impact our food supply. Food waste, being organic in nature, actually causes smell and pest nuisance if it's not properly managed, and they will require frequent collection. So this will actually lead to increase in road traffic and also carbon emissions. And thirdly, food waste contaminates our recyclable materials like plastic containers and cardboard cartons. So when we reduce food waste or even segregate food waste for recycling, it can actually potentially help increase the recovery of our recyclables. And lastly, there's potential to harness food waste as a resource. So when you segregate food waste for treatment or recycling, food waste can actually be converted or treated to produce resources such as compost, fertilizer, biogas, or even animal feed. So moving on to what we can actually do in your capacity as a food retail establishment. So this slide actually shows the food waste management hierarchy that is similar to how we actually manage all the other waste streams, beginning with the upstream and also the most preferred approach to prevent and reduce food wastage at source. Following which, we also encourage redistribution of unsold and excess food that are still good for consumption. So you can actually donate food to food distribution organizations like Food Bank, Food from the Heart, or even tap on food distribution apps, which are quite popular these days. So the next strategy is to actually, when food waste is still being generated, so like food waste is still unavoidable, we do recognize that food waste is still unavoidable, some of the food waste is still unavoidable, then you can actually segregate and treat or recycle your food waste. And lastly, where food waste cannot be recycled, whatever food waste that cannot be recycled, we then send it for incineration at our incineration plant for energy recovery. But this is also the least preferred approach when it comes to food waste management. So for today's sharing, I'll be focusing on two areas, which is our food waste reduction campaign in terms of outreaching to your stakeholders on how they can actually take actions to reduce their food wastage upstream, as well as touching on the food waste minimization guidebook, which is a resource that we have developed to guide businesses on how to reduce food waste. So first, the food waste reduction outreach program. This is actually an outreach program that NEA has embarked on since end 2015. It's actually targeted at consumers to raise awareness on our food wastage problem, and it encourages them to take actions on to reduce food wastage as they go about in their daily life. So when they actually do their grocery shopping, dine out, or even cooking at home. So on this slide, you can actually see some of the earlier resources that we have actually developed to share all these key messages. So like wobblers, posters that can be displayed at food retail establishments, and also YouTube videos. So in 2020, the food waste reduction outreach program was actually launched under the Say Yes to Waste Less campaign. So it actually encourages the key behavior of buying and ordering only what you can finish for consumers, both when eating at home and also both when eating at home and also eating out. So like encouraging them to take key actions like saying no to side dishes which they don't eat, and also asking for less rice or noodles that they can't finish, because our studies have actually shown that rice and noodles, carbohydrate items like these, are commonly wasted food items. So moving on, consumers not just play a key role, but also businesses, as they also have a very key ties together. So consumers, they have their demand, and then the food retailers, they have their supplies. So how can actually food retailers also help consumers to play a role in reducing food wastage? So we have actually developed this food waste minimization guidebook for food retail establishments. Is part of a 3-part series. The other 2 guidebooks are for supermarkets and also food manufacturing establishments. So for today's presentation or sharing, I'll be mainly touching on the contents of the food retail establishments guidebook, which will be most relevant for food retailers like yourself. So the guidebook actually aims to help owners of food retail establishments to develop your own food waste minimization plan. So as you have heard from the previous speaker, Mr. Mahindran, I think he has actually showed a very good example of how his businesses actually adopted a lot of the initiatives that we have also outlined within our guidebook. And it's actually heartening to see that the findings that we have actually earlier done the audit for actually helps him to further look into the food wastage problem within his businesses. So yeah, good job. So moving on, we will now be touching on some of the key target areas that businesses can actually consider. So a summary of some of the food waste minimization initiatives under the different key target areas, and also within the guidebook, you can actually access the food waste minimization guidebook for some of the case studies of initiatives that other F&B players have also adopted. So I'll be sharing the link to where you can access this guidebook at the end of my presentation. So don't worry about that. Yeah, so like I mentioned, the food waste minimizing guidebook actually outlines key target areas that food retailers actually usually within your business you will have, beginning with planning. So like planning how your business is to be conducted, what kind of measures should you take to reduce food waste, purchasing in terms of your inventory, purchasing and storage and handling in terms of your inventory management, sales and service in terms of how you engage customers on reducing food wastage, and also lastly, staff training, which is how you actually engage your internal stakeholders. So without further ado, let me start with the first point, which is on planning. So it's actually always important to first plan how and where, to identify how, where, and why are food waste being generated from your business. So you can actually do so by conducting food waste audits. So within the guidebook, we actually provided a simple template and guide on how food retailers can actually go about identifying the sources and also reasons for food wastage within their business operations. So only when you have identified where are the food waste being generated, you can actually correctly implement measures to help reduce. So for instance, if you notice that most of your food waste are generated during the handling or the storage phase because they expire before you can even use them, you might want to look into implementing better inventory management practices. Or if you say you realize a lot of the food waste are being generated during your food preparation, you might want to look at how your staff are actually preparing the food. Yeah, so this is actually what for food waste audit. And also once you have done food waste audit and implement measures to address the food waste that's generated, you can also conduct subsequent audits to review the effectiveness of whatever measures that you have implemented. So moving on, you should also consider the cost of food waste. So this will actually help you to build out a case, a business case for why you should reduce food waste. So when you actually look at the amount of food waste that you generate, you don't just look at the cost for buying the food, but also how much you're paying for the disposal, as well as how much your staff and also utilities cost. So all this will actually account for your total cost of the how much you're paying for the food waste that you're also generating. And thirdly, you can also look at designing your menus to use ingredients that are commonly discarded. So for instance, like parts of the food that you would normally not have used, or off-cuts for new and creative dishes. So this will allow you to fully optimize every part of the food so that none of it is wasted. So you can also tap on using food waste tracking and monitoring solutions like what have earlier been shared by Mr. Mahindran, in terms of monitoring where are the sources of food waste, and also how you can actually look at improving your whole business operations. Moving on to the second key target area, which is purchasing. So I think this is quite straightforward. It's actually in terms of improving your inventory management. You can actually either adopt electronic inventory management system so that you can accurately keep stock of whatever you have, or select just a single purchaser to avoid overlaps or duplicate purchases. So like he mentioned, also do avoid over purchasing. Do not be tricked by sales or order in bulk. Do so only after you have assessed the demand, and try to order food only just before it's to be used, because you will also have to consider your storage space and also whether you can finish using those items before they actually expire. So for the third target area is actually in terms of storage. So after you have actually received your goods, check to make sure that they are in proper condition, label them. So when we say label, look at what the products are, when you have received it, when they should be used by, and then store them properly according to the storage instructions. So you should also adopt good hygiene practices when you are handling or storing all these food items. So you should also adopt stock rotation policies such as the first in, first out, or first expire, first out principle. So like using items that you have actually procured first, or using items that would have expired first. So this will actually help to minimize the food wastage that's generated when food expires before you can even use them for your food business. For the fourth target area is actually on food handling. So some of the bigger food retail establishments, you may be actually collating your ingredients or your stocks at central warehouses or storage warehouses or your central kitchens before distributing it to the food retail outlets. So during the process of transporting your ingredients or food items, you should safety reasons, but also it helps to maintain and sorry, can everyone hear me? I got a note that my internet connection is unstable.
Yeah, it was a bit unstable, but you sounded a bit mechanized, but now we know that you are a human being.
Oh, okay.
The video is working, it's fine. Could we just repeat a bit of maybe two lines before you can start from there?
Sure. Yeah, so as I was mentioning, for the fourth key target area of handling, most of the larger food retail establishments, you might have your goods consolidated at storage warehouses or central kitchens before being distributed to the individual food outlets. So during the process where you are transporting your ingredients or your food supply, your food stocks from one location to another, consider to adopt cold chain management. So this is not only for food safety reasons, but also it can help maintain and also extend the shelf life. So cold chain management is particularly applicable for perishable food products such as agricultural produce, your seafood, and frozen food items. Yeah, so these can actually help potentially reduce food wastage as well. And on the fifth area, which is for sales and service, so I think this point is quite clear that you have to meet what your customer wants, but doing so, when you are doing so, you can actually produce only on demand instead of producing all, and then at the end of the day, you say you can't finish selling them. All this food would have gone to waste. So like what Mr. Mahindran mentioned earlier, you could actually prepare the items, but only cook them when there is actually the customer's request for it. Yeah, you can also adopt alternative approaches to selling or displaying food items. So for instance, instead of only giving a one-time serving, you can actually consider to do multiple refills, or even encourage and remind your customers to reduce food wastage by asking what do they think of the food that's served, what is the portion sizes that they require, and also what they think in terms of the taste and also the variety of the food items provided. So all this would be able to help you have a better sensing of how you can actually prepare your food in order to meet customers' expectations, but yet help reduce food wastage. So for the last part, which is for internal, addressing your internal stakeholders. So this is actually for staff training. So ensure that your staff are well trained in the areas of food handling,
Okay,
preparation, or
Miss Queenie, we have your
yes.
automated side of you talking to all of us now. We will wait for Miss Queenie's connection to get better.
Okay. Yeah, hi, testing. Do let me know if it's
okay. If you can just start from two lines earlier, I think it'll be fine.
earlier. Okay, so sorry about the technical
No
difficulties.
worries.
Yeah. So as I was mentioning, it's also important to engage your internal stakeholders to ensure that they are aligned with what the food retail establishments or what the whole company or what you aim to achieve in terms of food wastage. So this could be done by providing staff adequate trainings in terms of food storage, handling, and also preparation. You can actually include all this food wastage reduction practices within SOPs, and it also helps to so examples are like during food preparation, they can actually how do you actually handle, say, a carrot, where do you cut, or like unhygienic food practices. You should actually let them know that this is how you can actually handle the food so that they do not spoil because of poor handling practices. Yeah, and you can also engage your staff and keep them motivated by setting goals as an organization and foster a food waste reduction culture. So moving on, like I mentioned, that within the food waste management hierarchy, the second strategy is actually we encourage the redistribution of excess food, unsold or excess food that are still good for consumption. So this could be done with the use of technologies such as blast chilling or freezing food, or even reheating them before you actually donate them. So we have actually included guidelines on food donation and distribution within the food waste minimization guidebook. So food retail establishments can also tap on food distribution apps. So there are apps available like Makan Rescue. So these apps allow food retail establishments to put up items that are unsold, that will be that they foresee to be unsold at the end of the workday, and sell them off at discounted prices instead of letting them go to waste. So you can also collaborate with food distribution organizations to set up like food boxes, whereby people can actually drop off food items that they wish to donate. So food distribution organizations would then help to reallocate them to people who would have better use for all these food items. So when food waste cannot be avoided, we actually encourage segregation of food waste for treatment. So we actually, this slide shows some of the considerations if food retail establishments are keen to adopt food waste treatment. So firstly, you have to actually conduct a waste audit to estimate the amount of food waste generation. So this will be useful when it comes to sizing the kind of machine or the treatment capacity that you require. Secondly, deciding on what kind of system that you are going for. There are many different waste treatment systems out there in the market with different kind of end products. So when considering what kind of systems to go for, you have to consider the types of food waste that you are looking to treat, the kinds of end products that will be generated and whether you have any use for the end products. Because at the end of the day, we do not want to convert the food waste into a product that still ends up being disposed of. So, and then of course, thirdly, you have to consider where to site the machine. So understand space constraint is always an issue for premises. So and also in terms of locating them within food retail establishments, it's important to note that these food waste treatment machines, since they are handling waste as well, they should be located away from your food preparation area. So for instance, you can actually house them at your dishwashing or areas whereby you are also handling your waste. So to actually help owners and operators or premises to implement food waste treatment, NEA has developed this food waste segregation and treatment guidebook. So within the guidebook, it outlines some of the good practices for adopting food waste segregation practices, as well as case studies of food waste segregation and treatment adopted by different types of premises. So I'll also be sharing the link to access this guidebook whereby you can download and read for more info. So, but now I'll just touch on some of the resources that we actually find that most of the premises that have adopted on-site food waste treatment, they actually do. So these are actually good practices. So for instance, like having dedicated food waste segregation and collection receptacles. So as you can see on the picture on the most left, it's actually a food waste bin that is clearly labeled, and this is just placed right at the area where food is being handled or prepared. So you can see that once the food is being trimmed, they will just throw off the trimmings into the food waste bin. So this is an example of identifying where are good locations to place this kind of segregation and collection receptacles. So it's also important to have educational materials with clear instructions. So this could be like telling your stakeholders or even your staff what can or cannot be put into the food waste bin so that they do not end up throwing items that cannot be treated or recycled within this dedicated food waste bins. So having clear signages at the points so that people would know that it's like a food waste only, so do not mix with the other recyclables. So this is, you can see from the picture on the most right, that is an example of a collection point whereby it shows the different kind of ways, where do you put them. And lastly, having outreach program to engage the different stakeholders on what you are doing and how they can actually support you. So these are just for, you can actually refer to the guidebook for more details on how, if you are keen to do a food waste treatment project, how you can actually get started. So yeah, so most of the resources that I've covered are on this slide. The first one is actually the link to our webpage whereby you will be able to access the 2 guidebooks. The second one is to the Clean Green Singapore webpage whereby there are a lot of digital resources available for outreach messages on food wastage reduction. And the third one is actually to the Resource Sustainability Act that we have actually announced. So this act will actually come in play in 2024 and would affect the large food waste generators. Will require them to actually segregate their food waste for recycling. So for other food waste related inquiries, you can also write in to us at this email address over here. Yeah, so with that, that's the end of my sharing, and I'll pass the time back to the next speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Queenie Wong. 744,000 tons of food was wasted previously. Wow. I think I'm already helping in the food waste minimization project, as I'm a very good eater. So I eat and clean up the whole plate, so nothing is wasted. The plate is so clean that you don't need to clean it again. So hopefully maybe everyone would be as efficient as me, but I think they aren't. So hopefully everyone should follow what Ms. Queenie Wong has been sharing with us. I hope this message is driven well to all shopkeepers, catering businesses, everyone especially. Now, without further ado, we have next Mr. Jameson Chow. Now, Mr. Jameson Chow is the operations manager of the Food Bank Singapore Limited. He manages the daily operations and oversees volunteer activities. He also works with partners to plan for events and collaborations. Mr. Jameson Chow, please.
Hello. Can everyone hear me? Testing. Hello.
Yes.
Okay, lovely. Okay, I'm going to share my screen now. Okay, I think actually most of the things have been covered by Dr. Amy and our very kind NEA representative already. So I think I can actually, speed through the presentation. Okay, so can everyone see my screen? Okay, so I think Dr. Amy Khor is bored of this really. She's seen this like 600 times if I'm not wrong. Right, okay, but thanks everyone for engaging us and involving us to be part of this. We're very thankful. And yeah, a big hello to everyone as well and Happy New Year. Okay, so we're the Food Bank Singapore. We're a certified member of the Global Food Banking Network. So food banking has been around for a long time, ever since I think if I'm not wrong, the World War II. And people needed a way to provide food distribution to people on the ground, in a very effective and efficient manner. Right, so it started from then on the streets of America, and now it's evolved to basically really big organizations of the world. So the GFN goes around, tries to onboard food banks, right, and share with them best practices as well as all the different ways and different models of food banking, and at the same time try to provide resources to all the different food banks that are actually certified, right? So to be certified, that means you actually have passed a quite stringent audit. So this big angmo will come down with his clipboard, and look at us and okay, are you doing this right, and make sure that things are going well smoothly. Okay, so moving on. Yes. Based on the UN, we are actually the world's most secure nation, right? So I mean, this has been covered by NEA representative already. So we'll be moving on quickly. So we actually commissioned a food insecurity report in Singapore pre-COVID, right? To understand and figure out solutions and to really bring on the table what's happening in Singapore, right? So together with SMU, the professors found out with us that basically 1 in 10 Singaporeans do really face food insecurity in Singapore, and causes are actually most people would think financials, but actually about 10% are non-monetary issues, right? So for us at the food bank, we actually define food insecurity using first world terms, right? So basically you need to have economical and physical access to basically actually healthy and nutritious food. It's not just like, oh, you have 3 instant noodles for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and you're considered fine. No, we shouldn't be using that kind of definition, right? So, we have 10% actually, right? Even though they have some money, right? But for example, maybe, the sandwich generation, right? So the elderly are not, they don't have, their kids have not enough time to look after their parents. So they're stuck at home, right? And maybe they have some mobility issues. They're unable to go down easily to purchase food, or they don't cook, right? So these are also some of the cases of food insecurity in Singapore, right? But the more worrisome part is about through this survey, right? We realized that actually only 22% of people are actually receiving help. What about the other 80%? So what's going on there, right? So actually it's like a lot of people are actually quite nice. They think that, oh, maybe someone else needs more help than us, right? Or maybe actually I'm kind of embarrassed. I'm kind of doing fine, but I just eat my instant noodles, So it's quite unfortunate. And to actually make things slightly not so good as it could have been, right? Sometimes the media will share things like, oh, this place has the most hardest hit, right? And then everyone focuses their support on certain areas in Singapore without understanding that, there's other places who need help as well, right? So which is quite unfortunate. So the food bank, we try to share and let people know that, hey, it's not just this area that needs help. It's just not this person that needs help, There's a right spectrum of people that actually needs help in Singapore. Okay, so moving on, basically, this is Food Banking 101. Our mission is to end food insecurity in all forms in Singapore. We intend to close down by 2025, because we solved this problem in Singapore. We're not sure if we can do it. We'll try our best to do it. But I know, I'll be sending my resume to one of you guys, in 2025. Maybe I can be Dr. Amy Khor's assistant. right? Right. Yeah. So our model, standard food banking 101, central distribution point. All food should go through the food banks or similar like organizations, right? So that we can have proper coordination of food distribution, right? We don't want to have random ground-up initiatives to do something at this block when other charities are already covered this block, right? So it's one of the problems that we faced during COVID. But you know, it's nice to see people actually reaching out and trying their best to help the needy, right? So we do not help people directly. We help community service providers. Okay, people ask us why, right? Very simple. It's all about sustainability or not wasting, right? We already have community service providers on the ground. We have registered social workers working at family centers, senior centers, right? Old folks home, orphanages, right? All these places already exist. And obviously our friendly MSF, who has social welfare officers located almost at every GRC, right? So these social workers already exist, but they do not have proper means of providing food aid to people, right? So through them, they already know who are the personnel, the profile of all these people. There's no need for food banks to go in and hire another 10 social workers to go around all over Singapore to figure out who are these people again. See, so it's not just about wasting food. It's about wasting people's time and wasting people's money, right? So through this community service provider, we'll be able to provide all the necessary and direct food aid to people on the ground. And how do we do so? Look at this. So these are all the beneficiaries under the Food Bank Singapore, all receiving food aid from Singapore, from us, right? So we have your family service centers, senior activity centers, you have soup kitchens, you have all the homes, you have other BWOs such as the Red Cross Salvation Army. So through this, we are able to cover over 250,000 people, right? So, I mean, all these existing organizations and centers already exist. We should work together to ensure that, you know, food allocation is done in a proper, safe, hygienic, and definitely a very fair manner to ensure that, you know, people actually get the help that they need. Right, as you can see, it's really located all around Singapore. There's nowhere that people are unable to sort of get help. Right, I mean, if you look at the map, you know, it's only places where it's like the airport where there's no, obviously you don't need a social center over there, right? Okay. Okay, so moving on, yes, for Food Bank Singapore, the activities we do, we collect all types of food, including cooked food. You know, we take food safety and hygiene very seriously. We are one of the very few charities who engage in cooked food, salvaging cooked food, excess cooked food from hotels. But yes, before everyone jumps on the boat and say, you know, I got like 3 chicken biryani I want to donate to you. No, I'm not going to send my van down to collect 3 chicken biryani. No, it doesn't make sense to me. Right? There's a lot of additional costs. You know, if you're going to donate the money for me to pick it up, then yes, okay, we'll do it. Okay, let's do things in a proper manner. Okay, so we've actually set up a nice section at Marina Bay Sands, right, to ensure very, very safe and very, very hygienic fruit processing before it's donated. Okay, we have bank boxes. You know, I think it's been shared just now, so people can able to drop off their, you know, excess food, or maybe, you know, actually some Singaporeans are very kind, so they have buy one get one free, and they're like, actually, you know what, I don't need the free, so I'm going to donate it. Right, so there's a lot of kind people around. Right, so this is an easy drop off point for all these nice people. We also organize food drives, where students, all the way from students in primary schools, all the way to corporates, are able to actually raise a nice amount of food and donate them to us. Right, it's fun, it's engaging, and it does encourage a lot of team building efforts within the companies. Moving on, we also have bundles. This is I would say, the laziest way to provide immediate food aid to people. Right, it is very efficient. But at the food bank, we do it differently. As mentioned, we do work with centers on the ground. So we customize them in a way where we do not provide food waste, right? So obviously, if this is our healthier bundle, right? If we are going to provide to, for example, elderly, low-income area, we are not going to give apples, right? They can't bite on apples. They have no more teeth, right? So we're going to instead give oranges, right? Or other soft fruits, right? Which makes sense to be given to them, right? And we also understand if people don't cook, there's no point providing rice, soy sauce, or oil. Pointless, right? So we provide the things that people actually require. On top of that, we also understand that by giving bundles only, it does not make sense. Let me just ask you a very simple question. Can any of y'all eat canned sardines every day of the week? Yeah, the answer is no, right? So we have other programs to ensure that people have different choices, right? And also for us to engage different solutions to meet the different needs of the people on the ground. So additionally, we also have this fresh fruit truck. So this is an initiative actually started by the Food Bank Singapore, but we have a lot of other initiatives who realize that this is a fun activity and are also working with us to actually salvage so-called these ugly fruits and vegetables from the Pasir Panjang wholesale market and redistribute to beneficiaries on the ground. Right. So I think this is an interesting effort that we encourage people to work together to reduce as much food waste as possible. Right. So as more people are interested in this, the food bank will reduce our activities so that we can cover other gaps. Right. So this is how the food bank runs. Right. We try to cover gaps. Right. If there's people doing this already, we try not to interfere. Right. We let them run their programs. Right. We work closely with the government to ensure that we do not duplicate efforts. Right. Moving on. Yes. So all the food goes through our warehouse. It's processed by nice people in Singapore as well. We do a lot of QC and checks. As we said, cleanliness and food hygiene is very important to us. We ensure that the place is kept very clean, spick and span. We also encourage working with kids and their families, right, to educate children on how food is grown, right, where food comes from, so that we all don't waste food from the young age. Right, we have cooking classes and farm tours. This is our project to really solve problems. Personally, right? I wouldn't say this as a representative of the food bank, but I think that this is the future, right? This is 2021. You need to innovate, you need to upgrade, and you need to ensure that your programs address directly the needs of people on the ground. So our vending machines, why does it make sense? Very simple. It's 24/7. It's accessible, covers a small location wherever it's placed, right? I mean, let's talk about cooked food programs. We have done cooked food programs during the COVID-19. What are the results, right? You need to organize 1,000 over volunteers to cover X amount of locations every day. Does it make sense? How many people are free to do volunteering work every day? You only can do it on a Saturday, Sunday, correct? So what's all this talk about sustainability? I do not understand, right? If you want to talk about sustainability, you're going to help to distribute food every day. But obviously, it's not fair to ask people to do this. It's not their full-time jobs. So we need to innovate and use technology to solve such problems, right? So from Monday to Friday, we can have food from our vending machines. It's very easy. We issue bank cards with credits, right? These credits are all online, trackable, right? And we provide them directly to social workers we are working with. So social workers can actually provide these cards to all the people that they think they need based on their means testing. So it's very transparent. And through these cards, they can redeem all this food any given time of the day. It provides choice also, right? You can imagine if we are providing bundles, we are just giving canned sardines. You don't have a choice. It's canned sardines, bihun, and that. Right? So this is another alternative where people can actually see what they want and take what they want, therefore reducing also food waste. Right? Moving on, there's also cooked food machines, because we realize also the same thing. You can't eat canned sardines every day. People want a choice of cooked food as well. Some people don't cook, right? So with our cooked food machines, people can also redeem hot meals any given time of the day. Very simple case study: single mother with kids. Single mother is working. Your kids can go down anytime to get a hot meal. You don't have to eat instant noodles anymore. Okay, so these are some of the activities we have. Our COVID-19 efforts, everyone played a huge part during COVID-19. Everyone tried their best to help. At the food bank, based on our model, we are able to create huge impacts. We engage a lot of restaurants with donors funding, and we got them to provide charity meals. And we are able to provide almost 1 million meals throughout the COVID lockdown. Yes, it was crazy. We had to serve over 15,000 people, and over 2,500 locations, working with over 90 organizations mentioned before. I think we didn't cover 1,000 to 2,000 volunteers every day. And yes, about 150 over different restaurants. Through this, we have learned a lot of lessons, and we realized that it is not easy to do food distribution, right? Our program is no nonsense, 7 days a week, lunch and dinner. This is called sustainability. This is called proper providing aid to the people, not the kind of, oh, let's do it this Saturday afternoon because I'm free. No, I don't think that makes sense, right? If you do want impact, you should work with organized charity who knows what they're doing. During the circuit breaker itself, 45 days, we managed this and distributed 500,000 kilograms of food. It was fun, but not fun. My staff of 8 organized, coordinated all of this. We were working 7 days a week, 14 to 16 hours every day. So hoping the government will, identify us as essential workers and give us the bonus, the essential worker bonus as well. The impact that we have created is with working with other charities. I believe personally, and not as a food bank star, I think it's amazing. So I really want to thank everyone who's really want to work with charities like us. And we hope to solve problems in the future. Just a very quick history. So we started in 2012 with just 30 beneficiary organizations with 2 tons. And fast forward 2019 is 800 tons. Just to show off a little bit, in 45 days, we did 560 tons. That literally means we did 60% of 2019's work in 45 days. All right, so this is the impact you can make when you are working with a charity who knows what they're doing. Yeah, so we really do look forward to working with anyone and everyone. We're very happy to work together to end food waste and ensure that people are helped. So last year, I think it's not released yet. I'm going to release this specially to you guys. We redistributed 1.6 million kilograms of food. That's almost 5 million meals in just 2020. So looking forward to working with anyone who would like to be part of this. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Jameson. Apart from lobbying for a performance bonus and a future job application in 2025, Mr. Jameson Chow actually gave us a very informed presentation on what the food bank does, who they serve, types of food they collect, and the activities, how they can help to redistribute the shop's unsold excess food, and more importantly, how we all can collaborate with them so that food distribution is done in an efficient and fair manner. Thank you, Mr. Jensen, one more time. And at this juncture, I would like to actually invite, during this session, we have Mr. President, Mr. Ganesh, and Vice President, Mr. Mustafa, both of the Teka Market Association here online with us. We would like to thank Mr. Ganesh and Mr. Mustafa for joining LISHA Women's Wing and IRAS in this effort to make Little India goes green. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, we have Ms. Jasvinda Khor. Jasvinda Khor is the Senior Manager for Fundraising and Sponsorship for Food from the Heart, a position with key responsibilities including donor relations and acknowledgement, as well as procuring funding for programs and operational costs through fundraising strategies and events. Ms. Jasvinda Khor, please.
Greetings, everyone. 1 minute. Let me just share my screen with you guys. Okay, greetings, Dr. Khor, and all our friends who have joined us here today for this very meaningful event. Just 1 minute, I'll just on the slides. Can everyone see the slide?
Yes.
Okay, so basically, I mean, the thing that we are a charity. So basically, Food from the Heart, what I'm going to do for you today is we're going to talk a little bit about what the charity does. And then I will share with you about how you can come on board to help us with our various programs. So without further ado, let me start with Food from the Heart has been around for a very long time. We've been around for 18 years. We're an IPC status charity. We have been established since 2003. And we have distributed $6.3 million worth of food to 53,700 beneficiaries in 2020. So this charity started because one of our founders, she read an article in the newspaper about a famous bakery that was throwing out bread every evening. So she was very upset by that. She galvanized 120 volunteers and then she collected the bread and distributed it to the needy. So the bread program now has grown into 17, we have 1,700 volunteers and we save about 28,000 kilograms of bread every month. So these are our 6 programs, okay? It's the bread program, the community food bag program, the school goodie bag program, Toys from the Heart, Project Belanja, and the marketplace. So why would you support, why would you work with Food from the Heart, a charity that deals with hunger? Okay, basically, like what Jameson had mentioned, we actually had also done a similar study back in 2015 with Bain and Company, and it was found that 110,000 households, a very similar figure, that lived on per monthly income of $1,500 and below. And many of these households, particularly are poor families and the elderly, and they experience food insecurity where they either skip meals, reduce the size of meals, or they end up eating unhealthy with food that has less nutritional value, because that is what they can afford. These families struggle to pay paying rental, utilities, medical bills, and school fees. And FFTH has been a stalwart and dependable source of food for them during ensuring that our beneficiaries receive their monthly food packs no matter what. Okay, so our first program that I would like to share more about is the Community Food Pack Program. So FFTH beneficiaries, how we actually work with them is we work with 83 self-collection centers. So these are our partners, very similar to Food Bank as well. These are the family service centers, the grassroots organizations, the CCs, and the senior activity centers. And we basically we give them a mean amount. We are working with beneficiaries that have per capita monthly income of $690 and below. And as long as they meet the criteria, we will provide them with a guaranteed monthly food pack. So the community food pack items are actually, they're essential non-perishable food items to help these families defray cost, provide relief and peace of mind so they can focus on more pressing financial needs. The items are typically donated or purchased. Now, with the advent of the COVID situation, Food from the Heart, thankfully, was whitelisted by the government as one of the 4 food charities designated to help interim CFP beneficiaries impacted by job loss and other factors. And the charity has seen a substantial spike in the number of needy individuals and families asking for help during the pandemic. So the community food pack program saw actually a 51% increase in 2020, hitting 7,900 needy households and families, up from 5,200 in December 2019. So that's a 51% growth in just 1 year. Okay. So the next program that we have is the School Goodie Bag program. So this is more of a sponsored program. So we worked with the Health Promotion Board to come up with a curated bag that has items in this bag that, like, for example, milk, cereal, eggs. So it supports needy students under the financial assistance scheme. And it supplements the families with food rations that have better nutritional value for these developing young minds. So for many disadvantaged students, a hearty breakfast to keep them energized and focused for a day in school, as opposed to going to school on an empty stomach, which a lot of them do. So where they're more susceptible to falling ill and have a difficult time concentrating. So this is our way of interceding to break that first line of poverty, that that the mindset. So with COVID, when it came about, the School Goodie Bag program had about a 34% increase to nearly 6,300 beneficiaries, up from 4,700 in 2019, because we had a lot more people applying to be part of this program. Okay, so the next program that we have is the bread run program, which I've shared a little bit about. So we do 3,000 bread runs per month. It's a daily collection and distribution of bread from 117 bakeries and hotels, and we redistribute that to 158 points with the help of 1,700 volunteers. So this program alone supports 21,600 beneficiaries. Okay. The next program that we have, this is something that's very close to our heart, because when our team came in, we wanted to do projects that were, giving better to beneficiaries. So we came up with 3, and we piloted 3 in 2019, and 2 have really stood out in this as we're going through these challenges this past 2 years. So the first one, we launched the community shop. This was on 8th of February 2020. So this one was it's one of the Giving Better initiatives that we came up with. It's closing the gap between the needy and Singapore's rising standard of living. So the community shop aims to return the dignity of choice to the needy, to allow them to choose food items when they require it, and and when they need it. So instead of the standard food packages, so this is something different. It's stemming off the community food pack program. And besides offering food options, this initiative helps to minimize food waste, because the beneficiaries take what they need when they need it. And having a shop in the neighborhood also encourages the families to get out of their homes and to have more interaction with others under normal circumstances, but now not so much given the COVID situation. And so because we actually provide our beneficiaries with cards with QR codes. So they have 12 credits. They can go into the shop, they can scan the card, and they can choose any item. So we can actually see what are their preferred items. And also, if an elderly beneficiary does not come to the shop for a protracted period of time, we actually can alert all the grassroots organizations to let them know that, to go and have a welfare check on this particular individual. Okay. So the next one that we have is the Project Belanja. So we piloted Project Belanja. It's a cooked food initiative in Jan 2019. It's also part of our Giving Better initiative. Again, with this objective of returning the dignity of choice back to the beneficiaries. Project Belanja provides beneficiaries with a hot meal daily that can be redeemed at participating food stalls in the neighborhood through a phone app. So it's using digitalization and technology. We have a phone app. Our beneficiaries have a beneficiary card. They can go to the stall, scan the card, and redeem a hot cooked meal. So with the advent of the pandemic, this program has proved its resilience. COVID-19 has made it financially worth for the needy to afford even simple hawker fare. Further, some of these elderly beneficiaries may have lost motor skills to cook. So during COVID-19, when social distancing mattered, Project Belanja continued to be able to enable those in need to receive meal at hawker centers within the community. So it's bridged a gap by providing beneficiaries by simply scanning their beneficiary card at participating food stores. So basically, this program again aims to cut waste. There's no delivery charges. There is no need for extra manpower, and it's totally efficient. So it also allows for early intervention similar to the community shop, because we can track on the back end to see how our beneficiaries are doing, whether they're coming to redeem meals. And again, we can do welfare checks on those who do not. Okay, so the next slide that I have for you very quickly is our marketplace. So this one, we work very closely with the NTUC FairPrice and 100 of their outlets to collect unsold packaging damage or near expiry items left on retail shelves that are perfectly usable or edible, to enable our 28 partner welfare homes. So we don't only support our beneficiaries, we also support welfare homes who have on-site beneficiaries living with them. So they come to our marketplace, they can collect whatever items they need in the month, and then they go back, they can cook for their beneficiaries that are living on site. And basically, our partners' homes have shared that monthly they can save at least about $800 to $1,000 a month through this program. Okay. The next one, the program that we have is Toys from the Heart. So it's not only that we provide sustenance for the stomach, we also provide food for the soul. So this one is not in our mandate of food, but it's just very joyful. Every year we have 3,000 children that come for our toy buffet, and they get so excited to take toys home and all that. So this is just one of our happy projects that we run at Food from the Heart. Okay, so how can you help us? So basically, we are very happy to receive food donations. So typically, we look for non-perishable food items with a minimum 3-month expiry. And for that, you can contact my colleague, Morata. So, and basically, these are some of the items that we would use in our food packs and on our community shop. So these are, if you want to take a screen capture of the slide, that would be good. And then in terms of bread and confectionery, we typically look for bread that has at least a 2-day or a longer shelf life, and it should not spoil the next day with refrigeration. So, and we don't accept cream cakes or pastries with wet filling. So for that, you can contact my colleague, Justin at foodheart.org. So I'll leave the slides here, this particular slide that actually, so we also look for volunteers. If those of you who have vehicles, we have 250 distribution points. So if anyone can, if you can muster together 5 cars, or you can have a van or truck, you can adopt one of the locations. You can actually help us to send food packs to our partner centers as well. Yeah. So that's all from me.
Wow. Wonderful work that you're doing. Thank you very much, Jacinda Khor. Thank you very much. At this juncture, due to another important event that our guest of honor, Dr. Amy Khor, has to attend, she will be taking leave of us. We would like to thank her for spending her invaluable time with us, especially sharing with us her thoughts on this very important issue that is being faced by everyone in this world today. Thank you, Dr. Amy Khor.
Thank you very much. My pleasure. Let me thank everyone also for your efforts to help all of us grow green and reduce food wastage. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye. Thank you.
I suppose now, without further ado, we will continue with the event. We have the Q&A session now. Due to the time limit that we have, we are only going to allow about 4 to 5 questions at the most. And if you have more questions, you can actually WhatsApp us the questions at 9811-5817. I repeat, 9811-5817. You can actually WhatsApp us the questions, and we will answer everyone's queries and questions. Now, without further ado, can we have questions from the participants? You can direct the questions to the speakers or to me. I will then pick and choose the the victim to actually reply those questions.
Unmute your mic and start talking.
Now, please, you can unmute your mic and you can start talking now. And you can show us also yourself on the video, unless, of course, you feel that Saturday you have not been really fully awake, but you would like to still ask a question. Anyone? I give you the number again, the WhatsApp number that you can also send your questions to, 9811-5817, which is now being mysteriously written by someone on the screen. Well, the number appears. So is there any questions? Also, I would like to inform you at this juncture that after the session, once you provide your feedback, we are going to give you a decal. Yes, it's a very nice decal, but the problem is that it is in green. So let me put it on my body so that you can see it. Yeah. Oh, actually, you can see it on the screen. We support zero food waste. Yes, this decal will be given out to participants who actually provide your feedback. Okay, nice decal that you can put it on your store windows. Okay, now do we have any questions? At this juncture, we will also like to look at our events calendar one more time so that we can refresh our memory with respect to what are the upcoming events that you all can look forward to. Let me see.
Wadi, are you there? Can I have a
Yes, ma'am. Oh, okay.
suggestion?
So we've got a question. Perhaps we will take the question, then we will go back to the events calendar.
Not
Uh,
what do you call a question, but idea.
oh, yes, ma'am. Please share with us.
Okay. I travel to Australia every year, twice a year,
Okay.
Son lives there. The thing is, when I go to the food court, okay, they have got food courts, where they sell food, and it's all done by 4:30. The food courts close at 4:30. So we go there for lunch. And when we are there, we eat. After that, the stalls, they got like up to 2 or 3 o'clock, they dish out foods to sell. And before they start closing, they'll pack the balanced food into, the square takeaway containers, and they will just standardize the packs, and
Okay.
they'll pile it up all on their shelves. And they give it at a reduced price because there's time constraint for consumption of food, right? So they quickly pack them up, and it's not according to the buyers or the consumers' needs, but it's more reasonably packed, with a portion of rice and not in the bento set, but in this kind of thing where it's all tightly packed, and individually you can buy 2 or 3 packets and bring home and have it for dinner. And I think it's a very good practice, but I don't see it here more often, other than maybe some places they sell, okay, last hour, $1, one bread, you buy one, you get free, that kind
Yeah,
of
correct.
stuff,
Yeah.
Yeah, so this one, I don't notice it anywhere. Can it be a practice in our restaurants, especially when I go to like Gayatri, I go to Anjapur, or I go to Apollo, I go to Mutus, they've got lots of, that whatever you call it, that display thing, right? There's so much of food, but at the end of the day, when you go for dinner time, there's so much left over. So can they promote this? It's only a suggestion. Whether it's practical in
Thanks for
Singapore, I
suggestion.
don't know.
Let me direct this to Mr. Mahindran. Mahindran, any comments on this actually?
Hi, Ms. Lila. Thank you very much for your feedback, and I'm very glad that we had her voice out her comment. So definitely, I think this is feasible. We should be looking at this, and I will definitely take this up with our restaurants and say, we had a feedback from Ms. Leela, and I think it is a doable idea. So yeah, let's work
Right.
on it, definitely.
Yeah, okay. Also be careful with the 4-hour thingy, all right? Maybe you
Yeah.
can put a timer on the box itself, consume by end of today or something like that, or you can freeze it for the next day. Freeze it, not fridge it, okay? So those kind of things has to be careful with, mindful with.
All right.
Yeah, thank you so much for listening.
Thanks for a wonderful suggestion.
Yeah, I hope I'll be the first buyer, okay, Mahindran, so you get a photo of me when I do that.
Looking forward to it.
All right. All right. I've got another question here from Devagi Shanmugam. What about looking at the vegetable stalls in Little India? I was once shocked to see a whole basket of ladies' fingers being left to be thrown away in Buffalo Road. Will these stall holders be educated too? Can a compost be put in Little India so that at least the real wasted food can be turned into compost? After all, we have farms in Singapore that can use this. I think Ms. Kuni Wong, can I direct this question to you?
Yeah, hi, David. Yeah, Mr. Shanmugam. Yeah.
Actually,
Thanks for
Devagi
the
Shanmugam.
question.
No worries. Go ahead.
Yeah. So thanks for your question. Yeah, I think we do recognize that there is this issue of like all this perishable food items like vegetables. They tend to be thrown away easily if they are like just like damaged, even if they are still perfectly good for consumption. So that's why there are actually some volunteer groups like SG Food Rescues. We understand that they actually go around the shop houses at Little India to collect some of these items that are just slightly blemished but are still good for consumption, and then they actually redistribute to community fridges. So for the particular stores that you mentioned that you saw this problem, perhaps we can, if you you might want to reach out to them to actually let them know that there are actually such organizations that they may wish to donate if this kind of vegetables are still good for consumption. As for the second part of your question, which is regarding the compost, I think you are referring to like a compost bin. So right now, we are aware of ground up organizations that actually partners communities to set up composting programs. For the Little India area, placing a composting bin publicly may require some form of further deliberation. So because after all, it's going to be a public area, you will still need to engage like people to segregate their food waste properly so that they don't end up composting the bins. And if it's not like I mentioned, because food waste usually there tend to be a little bit of smell or pest if you just put it out like in public areas. So it's probably something that we can consider. So coincidentally, I think LISHA has also earlier, LISHA and IRAS has actually also shared that they have to explore whether they would like to place some compost bins. So we can probably take this back with them to share like how, if they are interested to start, how we can actually provide them on available avenues or resources that they can actually tap on. Yeah, in particular to convert, like I mentioned, to convert food into resources that can potentially be used back into our food, like maybe even not for food supply chain, but maybe in local farms, yeah, or community gardens, yeah. So I hope that answers your question.
Thanks, Ms. Queenie. Is there anyone else who wants to jump in? Ms. Jasminda or Jimson? You have any other comments? Okay. If not, the time has come to actually conclude this session. But please remember, this effort of LISHA's Women's Wing and IRAS does not end here. There are follow-ups, okay? We are actually working with NEA, and there's going to be recycling bins placed in Little India. Not only that, NEA online resources will be sent to all merchants, including today's this session, this recorded session. NEA training classes will start soon. We hope merchants will be sending their staff for training, for this important training. We're also collaborating with Food Bank and Food from the Heart to work with merchants to send and also to recycle food to charities, especially. We will also be helping in the continued education of merchants in relation to food wastage reduction. Very important, isn't it? Because today's world, this is an important issue that everyone needs to take into consideration. Reduce food wastage is the tagline, is the main headline for this session. And Little India goes green is what we have been doing. Now, we would like to also at this juncture highlight the further activities that are slated. Perhaps the slide will be shown to you all, and I can actually highlight the events that is upcoming so that you can actually take a look at it before we come to the end of the session. And as you can see, I hope you can see the screen. Okay, we are trying to put up the screen soon. So at this juncture, I would like to thank all the speakers for taking your time and sharing with us very important issues, topics that you have covered. And it has been definitely an eye-opener. I think more of us would be now mindful of food wastage, and this kind of awareness must continue so that it drives home the point that at the end of the day, that everyone has a part to play in this. And organizations like that we actually met today, like the Food Bank and Food from the Heart, I think volunteers should also take into consideration the wonderful work they are doing and have to chip in. We all have a role to play. Now, as you can see, these are the events for 2021. So many events. Oh, there's another event, July 1st, corporate communication. Yes, chin up. That's also another event that's coming up. So many events, I think we should take into consideration apart from the Biryani Fiesta, because someone told me that I gave too much consideration on just the Biryani Fiesta. Actually, there are so many other events upcoming events. So please remember, people, give us your feedback and you will get your decal. And thank you for joining us in this important initiative, and thanking everyone for spending your time with us for this Little India Go Green session. Remember, this is a feedback form. We appreciate your feedback. Do scan the QR code and provide us with your feedback. Thank you very much. Thank you for the speakers. Thank you to the speakers. Thank you for all the important VIPs who attend this event. We need your support, and together we can achieve a lot more. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.